For the upcoming panel discussion on franchising outlook and opportunities in Malaysia, Mr. Robin Yeo, Regional Manager and Senior Consultant, FT Consulting, and his panelists will take us through how to franchise successfully in Malaysia and address the permanent shift in consumer behaviors resulted by the pandemic. Over to you, Robin.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Hi, I'm Robin Yeo, the moderator for the panel session on the theme Franchising Outlook and Opportunities in Malaysia. Welcome to all of you who are able to join us. For this panel session, we'll look in greater detail 4 topics related to the theme. These topics are: first, we'll discuss the change in consumer behaviors during the pandemic and what's next beyond the pandemic, especially in Malaysia's fastest growing industries, F&B and retail. Next, we'll look at the effect of digital transformation on the Malaysian retail landscape. Thirdly, we'll look at what are the key requirements to start franchising in Malaysia and how to franchise successfully there. And for the 4th topic, we'll discuss what are the possible dark horse sectors that may change Malaysian consumerism. Now I will share how the rest of this panel session is conducted. I'll first give an introduction of the 3 panelists. Next, each panelist will briefly share backgrounds of his company and himself and share how they have responded to the COVID-19 pandemic situation, especially as a franchisor. After the panelists' sharing, I will then ask the panelists a series of questions for their views so as to address the 4 topics that I mentioned earlier. Their views will give us a better understanding of the franchising outlook and opportunities in Malaysia. I will then end the panel session by summarizing key learning points from what was shared by the panelists. Now, I would like to introduce our 3 distinguished panelists in alphabetical order. The first panelist that we have is Mr. Michael Liew. Michael is a council member of the Malaysia Retail Chain Association. He's also the business director at Mary Brown, one of the world's largest halal fast food chains with presence in 16 countries. In his role as business director at Mary Brown, he manages its corporate stores and helps grow the number of corporate stores from 18 to 42 stores. He works closely with the company founders on business strategy and structural improvements to further enhance its franchise system for serving franchisees, other stakeholders, and of course the customers. Michael was appointed to establish a worldwide franchise program, build overseas market presence, and manage the global team. And he has led and motivated local and worldwide teams comprising of over 1,500 employees and managing the profitability of the business divisions. Next panelist we have is Mr. Patrick Sim. Patrick is the group director of Secret Recipe. Secret Recipe is now one of the largest leading cafe chains in Malaysia and has outlets in various Asia-Pacific countries. Patrick is currently leading the frontline and growth of Secret Recipe, where he oversees the sales, operations and training, marketing, information technology, franchising, business development, leasing and design, and renovation. He has 8 years of F&B experience and has worked with established brands such as Hokkaido Big Cheese Tart and Red Lobster. Patrick has a strong foundation in finance and accounting with experience in PwC and Deloitte. He has a CPA Australia professional accounting qualification and a master's degree in business administration with a good understanding of supply chain management. Our 3rd panelist for today is Mr. Paul Ang, CEO of CityCoin Laundry. CityCoin Laundry owns the Laundry Bar brand of self-service laundromats. Since starting operations in 2013, the brand has grown to over 500 Laundry Bar stores in Southeast Asia and is still growing. In 2017, Paul registered the Laundry Bar business as a franchisor in Malaysia. Paul has successfully led CityCoin Group to receive many accolades, including the SME 100 Awards 2016, Nanyang Golden Eagle Award 2017, and Singchu Award 2017 for its fast-growing and sustainable business model. And in 2019, CityCoin Laundry launched the first ever franchisor laundry bar investment scheme that allows investors to invest and enjoy predictable returns per year. Paul also has a strong accounting background with a diploma in Malaysia taxation. He has worked at Grant Thornton, Malaysia, and Ernst & Young. Okay, now I shall call upon Mr. Michael Liew to start his sharing. Over to you, Michael.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, Mr. Robin. We're going to go straight into introducing ourselves. I'm actually representing MRCA, a Malaysia Retail Chain Association, which is the largest and most active NGO in Malaysia. We have over 500 brands with us, which most of them are franchising, supermarket, F&B, also supporting categories like developers, suppliers, vendors, and services. So MRCA has been quite active for the past 20 months as well, working with the government and the industry leaders to provide some feedback to our government and on the retail operations and customers' requirement that allow us to have, for example, dine-in, takeaways, and all this that we have feedback. And right now, we are quite glad that we have dine-in situation in Malaysia, right? Unfortunately, the numbers are still hovering. We hope to see the numbers to come down soon by the next couple of months. As we know, we have a very good retail sales report from September of MRCA that done with MRA, which is the Malaysia retail category. We have 2.4% increase in retail industry sales, okay, which is quite positive up to September. For the special, subcategory wise, few industries has been doing quite well, including supermarket, pharmacy, logistics, even the professional services has been improving and increasing their earnings through the last 20 months. Myself, which is also from Mary Brown, our franchise have been sold 30 over new franchise in 2021, and also in 2020, we also sold 30 over new franchises as well. So we see that it's going to be a continual uptrend for the next 1 year. There is a demand for cash businesses, and there's a demand to have a business easy to start up, easy to jump in. I think this is the reason why we are all here to also talk a little bit about franchising, because franchising is the easiest gateway to learn and adopt and invest into a business format which is successful. And we know that in Malaysia, we have also a very interesting thing called the Franchise Act, which is we started from 1998. Currently, there's an updated one in 2020. Basically, that we're encouraging franchising in Malaysia. We have franchise loans, franchise consultants, which is Mr. Robin himself as well. We have a presence in Malaysia and Singapore. We are here to promote franchising, promote entrepreneurships, and also build employment. A lot of the brands do come into Malaysia and using us as a springboard. And one of the advantages we have is actually halal. Halal licensing is actually a food and lifestyle preferences that we have in Malaysia. That some of the international brands, for example, the can't remember what's the name, Sukiya came to Malaysia using the big company. Sukiya actually is a non-halal brand in their home country, Japan. But coming to Malaysia, they have decided to go into a halal process, and it has earned them a very good revenue. Currently, Sukiya has expanded quite a number of stores. And what we understand from MRCA as well, that which is also our member, they're going to use Malaysia's successful business format and model and go overseas going forward as a halal brand. And with us, of course, we are very proud to introduce our own secret recipe, which is a fantastic brand. I personally like their cakes. And also Mr. Paul, which is the laundry bar owner. These two are fantastic franchise. I'm also keeping track closely with both of the brands because they can go overseas for a good reason. It must be, for good franchising to go overseas, you must be successful, good profit, and easy to learn format. You know, sometimes it sounds fancy, but it's not easy to adapt. And we use the word, is it franchisable when you go overseas for our business? Okay, thanks, Mr. Robin.
Thank you, Michael, for your sharing. Next, we have Mr. Patrick Sim to share. Mr. Patrick.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Robin, for the very kind introduction, and greetings to my fellow chain franchisors, Paul and Michael. So just to explain a bit on the background of Secret Recipe, I'm sure some of you might have heard of us. We were first established back in 1997 by our founder, Dr. Steven Sim in Malaysia. So next year, we will be 25 years already in the market. And we are a cafe chain famous for our gourmet cakes and a variety of contemporary food and beverages, which are halal. So today we are one of the largest local F&B players. We have 330 outlets in Malaysia, and across the worldwide, we have about 400 outlets. And about 55% of them are franchised in Malaysia, and we operate about the 45 of them, 45% of the rest. So internationally, we are in countries such as Singapore, Thailand, Maldives, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Brunei. Besides that, in 2016, we established a new brand called Hokkaido Baked Cheese Tart. Some of y'all might have heard it because we are internationally in countries such as Singapore, Thailand, Australia, Vietnam, and recently we just opened in New York City in the US. So we have about 140 of these stores across in Malaysia and worldwide. And this is a dessert cheese tart brand, just as a background. Besides that, what else we do? We have diversified our business a bit more. So we do some B2B businesses as well, where we work with larger chains such as McDonald's, IKEA, and Starbucks, where we partner up with them. So if you go to a Mac Cafe today, you will see a secret recipe cake in their Mac Cafes in Malaysia. It's definitely quite challenging to partner up with these international brands where there are a lot of requirements in terms of quality and safety, as well as they require the suppliers to comply to their ESG requirements. So there's environmental, social, and governance, where you have to be a good employer. They don't want any bad press. But it's a good learning experience for us and a good opportunity for us to grow our brand, not just in the retail section, but to partner up with all these large brands as a F&B supplier as well. So the pandemic was definitely a tough period for all of us. Where dining was closed, we have gone through 3 lockdowns. I'll explain a bit more later on, but we try to adapt where we can in terms of doing more delivery, expanding our takeaway abilities, and investing in digital transformation. Yeah, so that's it for me.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Practicing, for your sharing. And last but not least, we'll have Mr. Paul Ang to share. Yeah, Mr. Paul.
Hi everyone, thank you for Robin for the introduction, Patrick and Michael. Yeah, so my name is Paul. I'm from Silicon Laundry. My brand is Laundry Bar. So presently we started our business in 2013, and we have a total of more than 500 outlets worldwide, and we have 400 in Malaysia, and we have some outlet in Turkey, and we have also in Thailand, as well as in Brunei. And franchising for self-service laundry is not that easy, especially during this pandemic. And of course, I can see the demand for the self-service laundry is getting higher and higher because of the hygiene issue. Everyone is talking about the COVID. Everyone is talking about the how to prevent ourselves from being affected by the COVID. And recently, from the report, America, they indicated that dryer is one of the effective way to kill COVID. And that is the reason that this is become our booster during this pandemic. So, and our mission is to want to become the largest self-service laundry in Southeast Asia, and by providing within 60-minute solution. And we are in the mission that to add value to all our patrons and to make sure that they achieve the highest saving of time. So just compare, if let's say we do laundry at home, compare with do laundry as self-service laundry, that is the extensive amount of time, so much of time you can save. So this is how our self-service laundry business can add value to our society. So, and based on our statistic, Laundry Bar has performed more than 1 million cycles in Malaysia, just in Malaysia alone. So if per cycle, we can achieve a 2-hour saving for every patron. That means indirectly, we provide 2 million hours for free to our Malaysian government and our Malaysia society. So these are the contribution from Silicon Laundry, from Laundry Bar to our Malaysia. So, and our next expansion is, of course, during this pandemic, we are facing a various lockdown. And luckily, the reason the government has this year, the government has announced that self-service laundry classified as a this necessity and is considered as an important service. That means upcoming when there is a lockdown, self-service laundry business will never be affected by the lockdown. So this is we are proud to say that self-service laundry is no longer just a normal service, but it's an essential service. And other than that, we also providing our e-wallet solution, because during this pandemic, we can see the number of patrons they are using wallet solution as compared to a physical token has been changed. That means more people, they are more depend on e-wallet solution rather than physical solution. This is more a bit on my sharing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again. Thanks, Paul, and thank you to Michael and Patrick for sharing. We'll move on to the next phase of our panel discussion. And I'll be asking the panelists a series of questions on the 4 topics that I mentioned earlier that's related to the theme of franchising outlook and opportunities in Malaysia. So the first question I'll be asking is about the changes in Malaysian consumerism, especially during this pandemic situation. So specifically, my question to you all will be, what changes in consumer behaviors have you seen in your customers resulting from the pandemic? For example, the changes in the way customers buy from you and what they buy from you. Maybe for this first question, I will ask Michael to respond first, followed by Patrick and then Paul. Yeah, Michael.
Thanks, Robin. Would you mind to repeat the question again?
Sure. What changes in consumer behaviors have you seen in your customers resulting from the pandemic?
Right. So I'll use the point of view of Mary Brown. Okay. For our customers, quite obvious for fast food chain like ourselves, Mary Brown, we have to adopt quickly into a contactless, cashless payment system. In Malaysia, interestingly, even for delivery services up to today, there is still a demand for cash payment. So most of our customers still prefer cash payment. However, during the last 20 months of pandemic, there is a shift into banking systems and e-wallet usage. Interestingly, our people need a crisis to push into this e-payment. But if you talk about people like Singapore, citizens like Singapore and Taiwan, they have been using cashless payment card system for quite a long time. Even our businesses in Dubai, UAE, we've been using cashless for about 15 years, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a interesting time for us. We use this period and a shift in consumer preference and behavior to push for new spending and new channels and also adaptation into digital. Okay, part of it, interestingly, they still insist to move around to look at the restaurants before they purchase anything, or they look into retail. So we know that our customers, because in Malaysia they're quite mobile, they have bikes and they have cars. I think most of us, there's a report that says that Malaysians have 1.5 cars, meaning that most of us, for every 2 person, there's 3 cars. So they prefer to drive around and look for makan, for food or any purchases or any personal use. So for fast food wise, we have done something called the drive-in curbside services. When they drive to our restaurants, they can use a QR code or they can use online purchases and do the purchase, do the order, and we will send it straight into the car from the restaurant. So they do not have to get down from the car and go to the counter. So this is one of the services that we provide. This is on top of drive-thrus. Okay, drive-thrus we still have a lot in our country, and it's a still preferred way. In fact, drive-thrus we see, I think, more than 50% sales increase across the board, including ourselves. There's a demand in drive-thrus, I think, for the ease of sitting in the car, right? So the preferences are quite obvious, I think, compared to other countries as well. Currently, there's something interesting as well, that they are looking into social media for information. So most of the information regarding purchases or news or government announcements, right, they will look into social media for actual news. And this is where we also move our marketing and promotions campaigns and our budgets into this social media. We also need quite a few of human interactions. The younger generation, they need influencers, they need KYs, but end of the day, social media interactions is still I would say for the next 2 to 3 years will be the new preference channel. Okay, for now. Thanks, Mr. Robin.
Oh, thanks, Mike, for sharing. Next, we have Patrick.
All right. So from my side, I will share more on the F&B perspective. Michael has already shared on Mary Brown's point of view. So from Secret Recipes perspective, what we can see, we have gone through 3 MCOs already, with the last one being the worst. MCO is a lockdown for what we have in Malaysia, where there's no dine-in at all. And we really have to just rely on delivery and takeaway for the business. And what we see is there's definitely some big changes in the way customers are interacting with us and the channels that they use in terms of F&B purchases. So for example, before the lockdown, we were looking at about 5% in terms of delivery. So customers are still very used to going out to the shops and dining in. And then when we went into our lockdowns, what we see is, it goes up to 40 to 50% where we are going through delivery and the rest are takeaway. And once the lockdown reopened, we do see a very good footfall. People are coming back. All 3 lockdowns. After that, people come back. They start to dine in, but there's a lot of restrictions with the dine in because there's SOPs we have to follow. We don't really have as much table space as we used to have in the outlet because you require to distance by 1 meter here and there. But we see the delivery from 40%. It didn't drop back to 5%. It's now hovering around 20%. Because people are used to ordering. It's convenient. It's easy for them. Just order through the app. And with all these delivery aggregators, what they do is they do a lot of promotions. They give a lot of rewards to their customers. So it entices them to actually order online through their platforms. So delivery would be something key if you were to expand in Malaysia now in terms of F&B to set up right for this. This includes your packaging, your store setup, and working with whether it's the third-party logistic companies or the delivery aggregators like Foodpanda or Grab. This will be key. But it is challenging for us, especially because delivery is costly. You have to pay a high commission to these delivery aggregators. So then your margins will be quite affected. So you have to understand how to play this game. The idea is to actually get a higher volume eventually than you would not have gotten if you didn't tie up with these delivery aggregators because your margins will be affected. But again, this is how consumers are interacting nowadays, and this is how we have to move forward. So another thing during the pandemic is we noticed, places like shopping malls were not doing so well. Those that are on the high street, what we call the shop lots, doing much better. People are more comfortable going out there. They just go in to pick up a cake. So we had to, work with shopping malls to reduce our rentals through rebates. But we do see things picking up recently already. Things are getting busy, especially with the more established malls. For example, like the Sunway Pyramids and Bandar Utama and Mid Valleys. But some of the newer malls are still struggling, I would say. So that's something to be wary about. And as Paul was mentioning, digital payments are coming up. Our government actually invested in a bit more of money into this, where they have programs such as FLAsia, which is translated to youth, where they wanted to get, they just spend money to collaborate with some of the e-wallet payments such as Touch and Go and Grab, where they give up some money for them to incentivize them to spend, and they partner up with brands like ours in retail to give these promotions out and spend a bit more money and generate a bit more of demand in the market just to move things up with the economy. So these are some things. I mean, cash is still top, but we do see a movement in terms of digital payments and a lot of brands working digitally in how they channel their brand out to others. And one thing we noticed during the pandemic, and lucky for us actually, is the dessert category was actually not too bad, because people were stuck at home and they had anxiety, they had stress, so they needed an outlet to reduce their stress level. So there's a bit more ordering for desserts. But of course, in the same time, we lost out in terms of the food, in terms of the dining, and especially in the beverage. Yeah, when people take away, they always don't take beverage, right? So beverage is a good margin item, and that's where we lost out on. And besides that, we also try to digitalize more in terms of operations. So using FLAP systems, SOPs, and be a lot more efficient in what we do. So that's just a sharing from my side.
Thank you. In fact, Patrick, you have also helped to, in fact, Michael and Patrick, you also helped answer the question about digital transformation, because I think they go hand in hand in consumer behavior changes too. Yeah. So maybe I ask Paul to also now to share about the changes in consumer behavior at least in your laundry business, and also how digital transformation has affected your customers and your business. Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. So I think in terms of option, we are not as compared to F&B, our option may not be so many, because of the pickup and delivery service. So like our customer base are usually they are walk-in patron. They are walk-in, and our business is unmanned. Unmanned business means they come in, they acquiring our services. So when our business are very much affected, especially during the COVID pandemic and also the lockdown. So say, for example, during the COVID case is coming up, our sales will start coming down because nobody dare to go out. Or when the case is coming down, our sales are picking up. So we are working on this way. So talking about digitalization, so our this has actually triggered one of the important element that our business will no longer just depend on people coming in or patron coming in, whereby we will enhance our service by offering digital solution by doing pickup and deliver service, just like F&B, just like what F&B is doing. So this is something very new for us. In fact, this never happened in our life that we think that the self-service laundry to implement the pickup and deliver service. So, okay, talking about digital payment solution. So prior to the COVID-19, prior to the pandemic, almost 100% of our patrons are using cash to make the purchase of our e-token, our token, or using our token to make the payment for the services. But right after the pandemic, I can see the number of patrons now they're using e-token from 0% now is almost 30%. I can see the increase, such increase of people who are believe that e-token are more safer as compared to physical token. So this, in fact, I would say that our strategy needs to be diversified, not say to contain one strategy, but diversified. And of course, for we as a franchisor, we want to, hopefully we can implement a good platform, the digital platform solution, so to enable pick up and deliver service. So this will be automatically diversified or increased to unleash the income potential of every of our outlets. So that is very important. Then in terms of using the cloud system, using the management system better with this COVID-19, yeah, presently we are practicing this by engaging a proper consultant. But after all, we still need to concern about one thing, whether what we are doing now as a franchisor, is it a temporary solution or a long-term solution? That is very important because the cost involved is not about few thousand, it's more than few 100,000. So whether what we are doing or what the cost we implement is a long-term solution or it's a short-term solution, or the COVID-19 or lockdown will coming back again. So of course, it's not wise if let's say we spend so much of budget for a short-term solution. So that is my point of view. Then consumer naturally, because of the nature of our business, people are walking. The only thing we can do is be diversified, not just depend on walk-in, but implement digital solution, pick up and deliver service, and also the. So it's pretty simple for Silicon Laundry or Laundry Bar business because we are just the self-service laundromat, and the assurance is there, the quality is there, and also the hygiene is there. And the hygiene issue is when we talk about pandemic, people are talking about COVID-19 hygiene. This is what we are keep promoting now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Paul. Thank you, Paul, for your sharing.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, I will actually combine some of the questions together, so and then you can answer both together. So my next two questions is really about franchising and the whole sector. So firstly, each one can share what you think are the key requirements for franchising in Malaysia, and what are the key success factors, and what do you think? Maybe you can name one dark horse sector or something, some new trends that you see that will change Malaysian consumerism. Yeah. So this time I'll reverse the order. I'll start with Paul first. Then each one maybe share in 1 or 2 minutes thoughts on these two questions.
Yeah, sorry, Robin, can you please repeat the question again?
Sure. My question will be, what do you think are the key requirements for franchising successfully in Malaysia?
Okay.
And also, what do you think are some of the dark horse sectors in Malaysian consumerism, or some new trends that you see, which I think some of you have already touched on? Yeah.
Okay. What I can see, the deciding factor in to successfully franchise in Malaysia, I think we still have back to the very straightforward question, straightforward answer, I think. So first of all, before people want to sign up your brand, so I think the potential franchisee or potential investor, they will ask a franchisor a question: why I want to take up your brand? Is there any special about your brand? So this, I believe that even you expand in overseas or you expand to which country, people will ask you back the same question. So then we as a franchisor, we must able to explain why is there any special about brand. So like I just want to share how I convince my overseas partner through Key. So when people ask me, hey Paul, why I want to take up your brand? It's just a self-service laundry. It's just just putting the machine. I can buy my own machine, I can put there. I don't have to use your brand. Then my explanation is very simple. I told them, today, I give you two choices. The first choice, using my brand, I can make sure you make money. And the second choice is using your brand, but you cannot guarantee that you're going to make money. Which one you choose? So after all, if you invest in a certain business or you want to venture in any business, the ultimate motive is to make money. So because I believe my business concept, we are innovative enough, even though just a normal self-service laundry, but we have a lot of innovation idea, innovative enough, they're able to give you back the ROI in a very short period of time. And the second thing is the location you must choose. The ROI you must able to choose, because our experience told us which are the best location, which location the most people they like this kind of services. So I'm talking about my service, self-service laundry. I'm not sure the F&B, but I think the basic foundation of the concept is there. Then, of course, ultimately, it's all about the innovation. For me, any franchising you want to do overseas, you must innovate. It cannot be like people are choosing your brand, nothing special about that. You have what is your unique selling point? I'm talking about USP is very important. What's a unique selling point? So this is my point of view. Then you talking about during this pandemic about the what is the dark horse? Dark horse, right? That means dark horse. I will say that about these pharmacies, healthcare, hygiene. These are the dark horse industry or dark horse retail industry. They are actually benefited this during this pandemic, and most people they feel that this trigger the awareness of the hygiene, trigger the awareness of people needs of the the health concern, the healthcare concern. This raising. Then of course this e-wallet solution, the payment platform, the digitalization. These are the dark horse industry. That I will say that they are benefited during this major transformation from cash become cashless, from physical become online. This is my point of view. So, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And maybe next have Patrick. Maybe you can share maybe one key factor that for successfully franchising in Malaysia, and one sector you can think of. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I need to go fast because we are running out of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so one key factor I would say, because we are a franchisor and franchisee, we have franchisee experience, where we are a franchisor and we franchise brands like Red Lobster and Olive Garden into Malaysia. So what I would say, one of the key factors is to really understand your concept and how it matches into the market. Just give you an example of learning that we had. So for example, in Red Lobster, when we franchised it, brought it here, it was a casual dining in the US where people are spending $25 to $30. So it's actually just most people can actually afford it and they can come in and they have the volume there. But when you bring it into Malaysia and the exchange rate goes up to 120 ringgit, where people are spending, then your concept actually needs to be different from what you have in the US. It's no more casual. It's actually high dining where it's a bit more fine, and the way you present it has to be very different. So in other words, you have to adapt very well. In this case, especially in terms of the taste as well. Asian markets, taste palettes are very different from what they have in the US. And as well as I would say, make sure your partner and yourself are matching in terms of your values, your style, your culture, as part of it. So that would be one of the key things to always adapt to the market that you have. Don't always assume what you do in your country will work best. And in terms of the dark horses, F&B, I think one of the key ones is actually cloud kitchens from what we see. Utilization of kitchen space is a lot more efficient for them when you use various brands in a location to deliver out. And in fact, they don't just set up for just a cloud kitchen by itself. Some of these are already retail where they use their kitchen a bit more effectively, where they deliver out from a retail brand, where they have the dine-in and then they have another brand in the back where they work on the cloud kitchen. So these are some areas where I believe things are moving up, but it's getting very competitive already with cloud kitchens. There are many set up. So you have to be faster to establish yourself in the market. Okay.
Thanks, Patrick.
Good time.
And how about, thank you for that. That was very illuminating about all the cloud kitchen and some of the success factors. And finally, we have Michael. How about yourself? Your thoughts on these two questions?
Regarding franchising, right? Okay. We see that actually there's a long life cycle for good, successful, strong business format, especially just now I was mentioning about if you're using Malaysia as a springboard. Number of the franchise brands, they are looking into how they can reach out to most of the populations in the world. As we know, that we've got 7 billion population right now, right? Now, 1/3 of it is actually Muslim community, for example. And I think Robin did mention that Marybrown is actually the largest halal fast food chain. And the reason for that, because coming from Malaysia, we have a strong halal systems, and we are the World Halal Council's chairperson for a number of years in our government representing. We do have a lot of knowledge in doing the processing and doing the education part as well, and the operation part. So that is actually our strength coming from our country, our system. So I would say that even things like food processing, skill training, employment, up to the point of doing exports. These are some of the interesting things that we can do to expand our business to overseas. For example, I was mentioning about Dubai and UAE, right? These countries require high documentations and explanation. For example, if you send products, like myself, we send food products to Dubai, the production date must be within 30 days. Anything that's above 30 days, they won't accept it into the country. So sometimes we have to plan the date exactly the point where, for example, let's say the 1st of November, we send the product. It must be 30 days. You reach that part. Otherwise, they will not accept at the port. So these are some of the points where the halal community are actually very particular about. I would say it's actually additional category of health and food preferences. It's not just for a religion purpose. For myself, if I will go to a restaurant, of course, there is a food certification like Singapore. If you're under NEA, the agencies, right, they will say you've been certified. If there's an additional license called the halal license, I would know that they have the food and for example, the chicken and the processing and the kitchen setup is actually much more clean and tidy. So these are some of the advantages for doing franchising coming from Malaysia itself. Now, we talk about dark horses businesses, right? I think we have
maybe just one quick description.
I would say I would say pharmacy would be a very interesting one, but that is actually into this health sector.
Okay.
Booming quite well. Even within our MLCA, a number of our members have expanded quite well. In fact, some of them are going listing as well within the past 20 months. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael, Paul, and Patrick. Well, time flies, and we are almost coming to the end of the panel session. If I can sum up a couple of things, is that I think digitalization is very important, especially digital payments. And actually, sometimes it takes a crisis to push everyone along. Yeah. So I think anyone who wants to go into Malaysian market to take care of this aspect, digital payments, and of course, as what was mentioned by Paul and Patrick about, you need to know what is a strong value proposition in order to franchise successfully in Malaysia, and you need to adapt to the market demand and the market taste. So what you are doing in your home country may not be necessarily appropriate for the Malaysian market. So you need to do some expectation. And then I think Michael brought up a very important point about the halal market. I think it's a very big market in Malaysia, and of course also in many other countries. Yeah. So thank you again for your sharing. It's been indeed an enriching and insightful discussion with you, the panelists. I and the event organizers would like to thank you all for candidly sharing your experiences and views with our audience here. So thank you, Michael, Patrick, and Paul. And thank you to the audience for joining us for this panel session on franchising outlook and opportunities in Malaysia. I now hand the time back to our organizers. Thank you.
Thank you to all speakers.